In the frozen heart of the Ural Mountains, 9 experienced hikers did something that defies every instinct of human survival. In the middle of a sub-zero blizzard, they slashed their tent open from the inside and ran into the darkness, barefoot. When they were found, their bodies told a story that science still cannot explain. Crushed ribs without a single bruise, a missing tongue, radiation, and a look of sheer, absolute terror frozen on their faces. What did they see in the shadow of Kholat Syakhl? Welcome to the Black Ledger. January 1959. The Soviet Union is gripped by the Cold War, but in the city of Sverdlovsk, 10 young students are only focused on the horizon. Led by Igor Dyatlov, they were the elite, fit, experienced, and hungry for the Grade 3 certification, the highest a hiker could achieve. They laughed, they sang, and they kept meticulous diaries. But as they boarded the train toward the Otorten mountain range, they had no idea they were walking into a geographical dead zone. One hiker, Yuri Yudin, turned back early due to joint pain. As he hugged his friends goodbye, he didn't know he was embracing ghosts. The group consisted of 8 men and 2 women.
The Mansi natives called it Kholat Syakhl, the Mountain of the Dead. By February 1st, the group began their ascent. The weather turned foul. Visibility dropped to 0. Realizing they were off course, Dyatlov made a fateful decision. Instead of retreating to the tree line for cover, they would camp on the exposed slope of the mountain. They ate a cold meal, wrote a satirical newspaper called The Evening Otorten, and crawled into their sleeping bags. It was the last time any of them would be seen alive. The slope was only 15 degrees, making a natural avalanche highly unlikely. When the hikers failed to telegram by February 12th, families grew worried. By the 20th, a search party was launched. What they found on February 26th chilled them more than the Siberian wind. The tent was still there, buried in snow, but it was empty. It had been sliced open with a knife, not from the outside, but from within. All their gear, their boots, and their coats were still inside. 9 sets of footprints led away from the tent toward the woods a mile away. Some footprints were made by socks, others by bare feet. The footprints remained visible because they had frozen into raised pillars. Under a massive cedar tree at the edge of the forest, the searchers found the remains of a small fire, and beside it, the first 2 bodies, Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivonashenko. They were dressed only in their underwear. Their hands were charred, as if they had desperately held them directly into the flames. High above them, the branches of the cedar were snapped, as if they had tried to climb the tree to escape something, or to see if the tent was still there. Skin was found embedded in the bark of the tree, suggesting a frantic climb. Between the tree and the tent, 3 more bodies were found: Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, and Rustam Slobodin. Their positions suggested they were crawling back toward the tent in a final heroic effort to survive. But the mountain was unforgiving. Their bodies were spaced out like markers of a failed retreat. The mystery deepened. If they were trying to get back to their gear, why had they left it in such a panicked rush in the first place? Rustam Slobodin had a small crack in his skull, but it was not deemed fatal. It took 2 more months to find the remaining 4 hikers. They were buried under 4 meters of snow in a nearby ravine. These bodies changed everything. Unlike the others, these 4 had suffered massive internal trauma. Dubinina and Zolotaryev had their ribs crushed with a force equivalent to a high-speed car crash. Thibaut Brignol's skull had been shattered, yet there were no external bruises. It was as if they had been crushed by pure pressure. And then there was the missing tongue of Ludmila Dubinina. Some of the clothing on these victims was found to be highly... Theories exploded. Was it an avalanche? A slab avalanche could explain the injuries, but not the radioactive clothes or why they fled without boots. Was it the infrasound, Kármán vortex street, causing madness? Or was it something more sinister? Soviet military testing? Paratrooper mines? Or perhaps the Menk, the Siberian Bigfoot? The lead investigator, Lev Ivanov, ended the case with a haunting phrase: "The hikers died due to an unknown compelling force." In 2020, a new Russian investigation officially blamed a combination of a slab avalanche and poor visibility. The Dyatlov Pass remains a scar on the history of the Ural Mountains. 9 lives extinguished in a single night of inexplicable terror. We may have the data, the weather reports, and the autopsy files, but the compelling force that drove those students into the night remains in the shadows. Some doors in history are better left closed, but at the Black Ledger, we believe the truth is